This is Maestro with a Faction War series and a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite modcast. Our Faction War series will be between the Space Marines and the Imperial Guard. We'll start off on Estia Province, and we're also going to start off with our first Space Marine player here. It's going to be Ben in 1993, playing as the Tech Marine, a Space Marine ranged hero with a gun for every occasion and the ability to repair vehicles. Next up, going to be Kaios 23, playing as the Apothecary, healing commander, targeted heal, and passive heal regeneration aura. And finally, it's going to be cursecrab, playing as the Force Commander. This is a tanky melee hero who can buff and disrupt with battle cry. Their opponents, we're going to start off with React's trademark, playing as the Lord Commissar. This is a slightly tanky melee hero, can also support by executing his own units. It's going to be wikkyd, playing as the Lord General, squad-based Imperial Guard hero, who has a lot of area of effect buffs and support abilities. And finally, it's going to be Inekura, playing as the Inquisitor, spellcasting, battlefield control, and manipulation hero for the Imperial Guard. So then, alright, Imperial Guard versus Space Marines. This is going to be a very shooty, ranged fight. Very ranged-heavy fight between these two races. At least in Tier 1, when you've got almost exclusively range units on both sides, on both teams. Just going to be our Commissar, our Force Commander, I suppose our Inquisitor, and at least for the time being, our Apothecary. So mostly only the heroes that are going to be fighting in melee. And we'll see if some of those heroes, especially with the way this Apothecary doing nothing right here, could contribute a little bit more if he just upgraded to the customized Stormbolter, so he could shoot at range instead of just sitting there in cover doing nothing. Tactical Marines, meanwhile, will get tied up by the Lord General. This will definitely be a losing fight for Kaios 23 right here. Maybe he'll have a heal for the Tactical Marines so that they don't bleed a model. They will get stomped, but they will also retreat in time before they actually get knocked down. Over on this side of the map, our Tech Marine is in cover with very few hit points. Now, I think in the very, very early game, like before we even have third squads or third units for all of our players, I think there's a very slight edge to the Imperial Guard, since they can more cheaply put out multiple ranged units. They will definitely, if the Sentinel play is managed correctly, they should have the better end of the economy in terms of not bleeding as much. But Sentinels do need to be very, very careful about not dying this early on in the game. So that was a little bit of a close call from this Sentinel out of React. At this point in the game, it's like almost unforgivable to lose a Sentinel. It's mostly the Tech Marine who can put on a lot of pressure on the Sentinel. Force Commander and Apothecary, if the Apothecary does not have the customized Stormbolter, should not realistically put enough pressure on a Sentinel to really scare it into dying. So, Commissar Lord right here will be upgrading to the Power Sword. That is an upgrade. You don't always see it, but I think particularly against Space Marines, it makes a lot of sense, since you are going to have that 50 power melee DPS. A pretty big upgrade to his starting sword. His starting sword is only regular melee, and the exact stat for it, I forget the exact, but it's either 30 or 35. So this is quite an upgrade. It's actually very roughly doubling his damage against heavy infantry. So when he's fighting in those Tactical Marines, he'll just be putting so much more pressure on them than he would with his starting force, with his starting sword. And then, of course, you also get the lead by example ability, the mobility ability, which I think can also be particularly helpful under the right circumstances, getting that Lord General to just tie up those units even faster, shut down the ranged weapons. Sorry, I meant the Lord Commissar, especially if it's a devastated Marine squad right here. So Kaios, I think, getting a little bit overwhelmed. Apothecary is now off the field, and all of these units are also getting to the point where they very likely will lose a model soon. Scouts in particular, I think, should really just try to retreat out of there once they have a good retreat path. Tactical Marines still have not lost a model yet, so this is pretty lucky, but it's also a dangerous game from Kaios 23, and he does retreat one Tactical Marine squad before they do lose a model. On this side of the map, we are going to have a multi-laser turret currently for our Imperial Guard players to just lock this down. We see the Devastator Marine Squad trying to actually shoot with some Vengeance rounds, but it seemed to be pretty ineffective. And shooting at such long range, it's also very ineffective, so that's not going to be the answer to this multi-laser turret. Guardsman squads really, really low. Now, of course, our Guardsman squads are very, very cheap to reinforce, especially these squads that have already upgraded to their Sergeant, which at the moment is now every single Imperial Guard squad out there. All right, does look like the Assault Marines will prove to be the answer against the turret, especially since the Infantry and Sentinel, basically the army support behind the multi-laser turret, had been scared off. So it was just an easy kill by the Assault Marines at that time. Generator Bash now happening by Inekura, as we do see Inekura getting some Catachan Devils. Going to be more Catachan Devils from wikkyd. I mean, I would say these are sensible purchases, given that we are seeing a very heavy Assault Marine focus out of our Space Marine players, which we'll see just how well that works out. Sentinel might actually go down here. Man, that was really cutting it close. Tactical Marines still here trying to finish off that Sentinel, but I think at this point they're more likely to lose a model first. They managed to just barely not lose a model. Now, at least on the side of Space Marines, since we are primarily having Tax as the primary ranged unit, and the damage from our Imperial Guard players is still primarily just the piercing damage out of all those las weapons, if the Space Marine players manage their engagements correctly, they should be able to not really lose many models, if any models at all. And it's more just if they can manage it correctly. Catachan Devil's in quite a bit of trouble. I think they will just barely get out of there alive, and indeed they will. We're going to see some upgrades on the Inquisitor as well. Inquisitor choosing to go with the Holy Brazier. This Sentinel might be in trouble. We do have bolt pistols being chased after it. I think this Sentinel's so close, and it's just barely going to make it out of there alive. So aggressive push by the Space Marines, just with the sheer tankiness of triple Assault Marines in this case, enabling them to push forward, but got to be careful here about not losing a model. If anything, I think our Space Marine players have been getting a little lucky, especially with things like, with this Inquisitor out here with that Holy Brazier. I would expect some models for the Space Marine units to go down at some point. That Holy Brazier, also another 50 DPS power melee weapon. And we also see the Rosarius basically choosing to turn the Inquisitor into a tanky melee here. Another squad of Assault Marines going to jump in. Unfortunately, the retreat by those guardsmen might have been a little bit unnecessary. Might have been able to just micro them back, and from that might have been able to better repel this Space Marine push. Ooh, Purification Vials going out. These Catachan Devils need to get out of there. Oh my god, these Catachan Devils might get wiped, and indeed they will. Unfortunate for them, kind of pursuing past the Purification Vials, then finding themselves having to retreat back through it is a really, really rough life there for Inekura. So that will be our first squad wipe of the game. We're going to see the Lord Commissar still chasing down those Devastator Marines. He does get a single model, but the Devastator Marines are able to take cover in the garrison. And at the moment, our Space Marine, our Imperial Guard players don't really have any clear answers to that. But man, talk about one of the things we're going to see. It's going to be a Manticore coming out of Inekura. And the Manticore is something that is... It's a very interesting unit in terms of how it figures in balance-wise. There will be a Tactical Marine model going down to the Holy Brazier of the Inquisitor. So the Manticore is something that in team games, and especially in lower and mid-levels, can be seen as very, very powerful. Higher levels you go up, and especially more so in 1v1 games, it's actually seen as not a very good unit. So we'll see what value it gets in this. I think because we are in a team game, I do expect it to get some value. Well-placed Manticore strikes in these chaotic team fights can really do a number, can very easily kill some models, sometimes even result in some squad wipes that you otherwise wouldn't expect to happen. Manticore strike is going to go in, I believe. Yes, there is the first Manticore strike. Manticore strike, this particular one, it's certainly getting some disruption. I wouldn't say that was the highest value Manticore strike possible, but I think an Assault Marine model has gone down. We're starting to also see, I believe that is one Missile Launcher Sentinel. So that Missile Launcher Sentinel going to give that Sentinel quite a bit more burst damage. And I think it's going to be tough for the Sentinels to really contribute against the Assault Marines, but overall I like the Missile Launchers quite a bit. They'll do great against the Tactical Marines if they are not moving around enough. Will also work against any Devastator Marine squads, as well as any units that are taking cover inside some garrisons. Ogrins will be out for Reacts TM, forcing a shotgun purchase out of Ben 1993. The Ogrins otherwise will be able to, I think, kind of run pretty rampant. Ooh, and finally there is a Sentinel going down. It will be Inekura's Sentinel going down. A little bit unfortunate for him, because I forget if he had one of the Missile Launcher Sentinels. Certainly right here, going to be wikkyd with one of those Missile Launcher Sentinels. Meanwhile, some Space Marines will be destroying this node. and probably take it for themselves. Probably leave the scouts to take it for themselves while the tactical marines join combat somewhere. And it looks like we're going to have an engagement. We are going to see some plasma guns upgraded onto some of these guards and squads. And I think that's, I mean, in this matchup, like especially in a faction war setting, this is like a mandatory purchase. Oh, another squad of Catachan Devils probably going to go down, though, so close. Down to just, well, down to 3 models, but down to such few hit points. Yeah, the plasma guns are basically a mandatory purchase in this matchup. Speaking of plasma guns, we do see the Tech Marine with a plasma gun of his own to try to answer the Ogrins, but in melee, he won't be able to shoot it, and the Ogrins will have a clear advantage there. Yeah, basically going from having the damage penalty of the las guns against heavy infantry armor to having the damage bonus of the plasma guns just makes such a huge difference, puts so much more pressure on the assault marines and the tactical marines. Talk about pressure, though. That will be another sentinel going down. So, of course, those plasma guns from the tactical marines also going to put a huge amount of pressure on the sentinel and make it a whole lot harder to keep it alive. Man, talk about pressure again. We've got the Ogrins losing 2 models, one of them actually being a bonehead leader. Assault marines looking for a third one, but aren't able to get it, even though that's 2 assault marine squads jumping in, both of them with sergeants. Manticore Strike will go down, but against the assault marines who are just moving out of there immediately, it will be a completely missed Manticore Strike. So we've got artillery out of our Space Marine players as well. Going to be that Whirlwind. Of course, the Whirlwind nowhere near as threatening as the Manticore in terms of damage, but the Disruption can still do a lot to shut down, the range damage of the Imperial Guard armies. So, no Chimeras, however, out of our Imperial Guard players. Old Reliable out of the Catachan Devils just to slow the approach of the Assault Marines. That's going to be a double Assault Marine jump. Certainly a lot of range damage to focus them down. Grenade goes in. Oh, no. Mostly hits the Guardsman right there. A little bit of an unfortunate grenade. Grenades also coming in from the Lord General. A heal did go on to the Assault Marines, and with that, they will be able to just tank all that and get on out of there. Manticore Strike is going in, but the Assault Marines are so close. They might be able to get some Melt-A-Bombs off. I think we've got 2 Melt-A-Bombs ready. 2 Melt-A-Bombs, I think, actually would finish off the Manticore. Oh, no, I think there's a big misplay by Inekura. There's both Manticore, I'm pretty sure that's overlapping Melt-A-Bombs, and that will be the end of the Manticore. So, unfortunately, a little bit, I think especially seeing he went for the Manticore Strike when the Assault Marines were already so close, and that just resulted in the loss of the Manticore. So that's a lot of resources sunk into that Manticore, and that Manticore, I do believe that the Manticore can get value in a team game, but that one got very, very minimal value. It got, I think it only launched the Manticore Strike 3 times, maybe 4. One of them missed entirely. One got a few hits. And that's something like, I believe the Manticore actually cost 100 power for something that's made of papier-mâché, and it's gone. So, no Chimeras at all for our Imperial Guard players. Instead, we're going to see them go straight to Tier 3. Well, they didn't exactly go straight to Tier 3, since we did see Manticore, we did see Ogrins. But they will be going to Tier 3 without getting a Chimera. Going to just be looking for those Leman Russes, most likely. Possibly some Casterkins. I feel like I haven't seen enough Casterkins in 2020. All right, then Assault Marines jump in for Kaios, but they will need to get out of there. Grenade will hit the Tactical Marines. And now this Whirlwind also potentially in trouble. Ogrins chasing after the Tactical Marines. I think that was also Old Reliable as well. 2 Tactical Marine models will go down. Sergeant does manage to stay alive, though, so at the very least, Kaios will not have to rebuy the Sergeant on that Tactical Marine squad. Meanwhile, on this side of the map, we're going to see more Assault Marine models go down. I think this Devastator Marine squad is also going to be probably going to have a little trouble here. So far, Mark Target is on the Lord Commissar, and he's having a lot of trouble. He might go down here. Eventually, he does need to retreat. And we're going to see Devastator Marines. Okay, they do manage to find the Ogrins. They do target the Ogrins, but I think the Ogrins are just so tanky with their super heavy infantry armor that they will get into range. If that Ogrin can get one more melee attack, he'll finish off the Devastator Marines. Devastator Marines tried to tough it out there, but eventually it was to their demise. Ogrins moving forward, looking for a decap. They're going to need to retreat out of there. Not able to finish the decap. So Ben 1993 definitely losing a few units. We are going to see a Thunderhammer Force Commander. Now, if we're seeing a Thunderhammer Force Commander, he also has paired that with the Teleporter pack. The idea there, normally I think of the Thunderhammer as a melee counter. You want those area of effect melee attacks. Well, technically, most, if not all, special attacks are area of effect. But 360, the circular special attacks from that Force Commander, good for countering melee, but in this case, he just wants to teleport in, get in on the Imperial Guard blob. Ooh, nice grenade there from the Scouts, killing a lot of Guard units. And he wants to just be able to disrupt, like, 2, 3, maybe even 4 squads at a time, if they are that well... man, I was not expecting a follow while recording offline, but thank you. Anyway... Tactical Marines engaging in this fight. I think this might be a losing trade for Tactical Marines, but soon Assault Marines should jump in, and that should be what the Space Marines need to turn this engagement in their favor. Triple Assault Marine jump. One squad of Guardsmen really, really low. Might go down here if the targeting is correct. Doesn't quite look like it's there, and it does look like our Guard squads will get out of there. Question is, how many models will our Ogrins lose on their retreat? 2 so far. And this is now some actual Castricans, so I finally get to see some Castricans in 2020. Unfortunately, they're still really struggling just because they're so outnumbered here. They will throw a grenade. And we still don't see any Lehman Russes yet. Our Imperial Guard players having trouble affording it. Of course, Inekura did go for the Castricans instead. wikkyd, man, Stormtroopers for wikkyd. The Stormtroopers, he must still be in Tier 2. I'll have to check that after he finishes the Stormtroopers, because otherwise the Stormtroopers really seem like a strange purchase. Our Imperial Guard players getting pushed back into their bases. Yeah, wikkyd's still in Tier 2. I don't know. Stormtroopers, I guess he's worried, I don't know, maybe about, I don't know. Stormtroopers I look at as pretty questionable. Oh, big Merciless Strike from the Assault Marines, getting quite a few more Guardsman models. Now, despite the fact... Actually, a lot of interesting things are going, despite the fact that our Space Marine players are pushing our Imperial Guard players into their base. It's actually the Guard players who managed to take a hold of the contested victory point, although the Space Marine do control the Imperial Guard natural. Man, look at these Tactical Marines melt! And I believe that was Chaos23. Just, I think he was typing. I think he lost the squad because he was typing and not retreating his squad. So these Guardsmen, just, especially here, we see... or not triple Guardsmen, we see double Guardsmen plus Castricans, but the Castricans also have plasma guns of their own, so it's a massive amount of damage going onto any of the heavy infantry squads. Space Marine players have actually suffered a lot of losses. But we do see a Venerable Dread out for Ben 1993. The Venerable Dread, it does strike me as a little bit strange. I mean, I guess... the anti-vehicle out of our Guard players is actually not that strong at the moment. Okay, it's going to look in for a charge, try to just really get in there. Does get a really nice Emperor's Fist. Or Fist of the Emperor. I don't remember which one it actually is. But now that ability is on cooldown, it is surrounded by Ogrins. One of those Ogrins does have Marked Target on it, so those Ogrins with Marked Target decide to get out of there. Melta-Guns will now be equipped on the Lord General, and we're going to see some Melta Stormtroopers as well, but they are so low on hit points. Venerable Dread might be going down. So the charge into the Emperor's Fist did look nice, but I mean, if this Venerable goes down, it really, yeah, okay, there it is. That really was a Venerable that didn't get a whole lot. Oh, just kidding. Venerable, with stoicism, is able to finish off one of the Ogren squads and one of the Stormtrooper squads. The Stormtroopers were definitely just way overextended, but the Ogrins, I think that was actually pretty crazy. So, and I guess that's some of the best stoicism value I've ever seen. I mean, at that point, I think the Venerable Dread killing both the Stormtrooper squad and an Ogren squad, that might actually be the Venerable Dread paying for itself. Of course, it would be nicer to just keep it alive, but again, that might have actually been it paying for itself. Ooh, Commissar will go down for reacts. So, Venerable Dread has come and gone, did get some value, but I would definitely, I don't know. Personally, I would see getting a regular dreadnought with an assault cannon as being higher value against Imperial Guard and in team games. I guess you would have to worry about the Ogrins, the way they did surround that Venerable Dread. But especially now with one of the Ogrin squads gone, I think actually just a regular dreadnought with an assault cannon would probably get a lot more value. Just the persistent range damage against all the guardsman squads. They don't have to worry too much about the plasma damage out of the guardsmen. Man, I don't know what happened there to those assault marines. Kind of just forgetting about units, and I think that's Kaios 23. He suffered so many losses. Unfortunately for him, yeah, Kaios 23 really in rough shape. I hate to be the one to say things like that, but he might kind of be the one throwing it for his team. Although Ben 1993 has definitely been suffering a few losses of his own. As we are going to now see, there are now double Leman Russes out on the field, so they didn't come as early as I expected, but they are here now, and they do appear to be getting some value. And we're actually seeing one of them has been upgraded with an Executioner. I think the Executioner actually gets massive value in this matchup. That plasma cannon damage really going to be good, not just against the heavy infantry armor, but really just against pretty much everything that the Space Marines can throw at them. Inekura actually decided to get a Vanquisher Leman Russ, which I'm not entirely sure why. The Vanquisher, I don't know. At this point, it almost strikes me more as anti-vehicle insurance. I think certainly the Executioner gets a huge amount of value here. Because the Executioner can still do damage to vehicles. It's definitely not the most desirable if you're trying to deal with vehicles, because the Executioner Leman Russ does have the shorter range, but just because it does plasma cannon damage, it just damages everything. It's good against everything, but especially all of these heavy infantry units. Unfortunately, oh no, Vanguard. The Leman Russ did not get hit by the Predator, but I think the Predator not targeting the Leman Russ needs to manually target the Leman Russ. It's still shooting at things behind it. Oh, it's kind of getting pincered now as well. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, does finish off the Leman Russ, but I don't know if the Predator... Okay, looks like the Predator will make it out alive. It also was driving past an Executioner heavy turret. So it was kind of in between a rock and a hard place, but it did manage to finish off the Leman Russ with the Executioner cannon. So we now actually see a Executioner Leman Russ going down. I still believe in the Executioner Leman Russ, and if we can see more Leman Russes out of our Imperial Guard players, I honestly would like to see them be upgraded to the Executioner. Ogrin's chasing after this Predator, but the Predator is being repaired by the Blessing of the Omnisci. It's still by itself, but 2 models have already been killed on the Ogrins. Yeah, at this point, Ogrins need to give that up. That's a huge loss for Reacts. I mean, if there was no Tech Marine, or if there was no Blessing of the Omnisci, he probably would have gotten the kill there, but as it is, he got jebaited hard. He lost 3 Ogrin models with that chase. Scouts, meanwhile, will find a grenade. No. They don't have the energy. They will find a back cap on the Imperial Guard natural, so it's a pretty significant victory point lead in favor of our Imperial Guard players. Sorry, I meant our Space Marine players. Space Marines also looking to push in right here. Oh, Lord General will get knocked over. Does have quite a few upgrades. Melt-a-guns, flak jacket for the damage resistance, as well as immunity to knockback. It says immunity to knockback, but I'm pretty sure it's only immunity to weapon knockback. Needs to be a little bit more specific there. Meanwhile, Terminator is going to be great against Imperial Guard. Or are they? They're certainly going to take a lot of that plasma damage. Right now, the Terminators aren't being targeted, though. So that's why they're not under a whole lot of threat. The Guardsmen are actually targeting other things. Of course, they can more easily find kills against the Stern Guard veterans, and that squad, both of those squads of Guardsmen will have to get out of there. Going to be another Venerable out of Ben 1993, kind of taking advantage of the drop pod placement to throw it right into enemy lines. But there is the Fist of Brachus with the None Shall Fall ability. As long as this is active, and as long as the Lord Commissar is alive, although he can die himself, these Ogrins basically won't die. But eventually he's deciding he's just getting overwhelmed. Oh, and the Commissar does die there. In fact, he got sync killed by the Vanguards. And this is going to be a rocket run. Rocket run, I believe it did, yes, it did wipe a scout squad. Did also knock back a bunch of units, but it is our Space Marines in control of the victory points. Not going to get a double cap, or not going to get a triple cap. In fact, they will lose the Force Commander attempting that triple cap. Might also lose a few Vanguard veteran models as well. But of course, time is ticking for our Imperial Guard players. We need a unit on this victory point ASAP, and then they need to start making a push, either here or here. If anything, the natural victory point for our Space Marine players is currently undefended, so that might actually be easier, and that might also enable them to get the victory points a little bit faster. But in the long run, of course, it is harder to hold. Meanwhile, heal going out onto the Terminators. Leman Russ from Inekura taking shots at the Terminators. Some Cyclone missiles going in, doing quite a number on those Guardsmen. We're also going to see a Baneblade out of wikkyd. And certainly that Baneblade moving in quite slowly. Unfortunately, the Baneblade can't cap, but it does need to make its way in here to help just establish a presence on this victory point so that something can get in on the victory point and cap. It's just so slow. It's so slow, and now it needs to chase down the Venerable Dreadnought. Our Imperial Guard players really starting to run out of time. Big smite goes out onto these Guardsmen, but they are leveled up a little bit, so the damage that looks like they took was not actually huge. Assault Terminators going in after the Leman Russ, and that's also going to be an orbital bombardment as well. Who will be caught in this orbital bombardment? Not too many. In fact, okay, I think exactly one Guardsman model was caught in that orbital. One Guardsman model. Oh, I think also a Guardsman Commissar. Yeah. So 2 models caught in that orbital. Back-cap does happen by some Stormtroopers, infiltrated Stormtroopers. They are just going for the cap. Scouts not actually doing anything about it. They were placed into cover. One model is shooting. And now they finally will actually respond to it. Grenade thrown because Guardsman player does actually respond. And that will at least be the Stormtroopers getting out of there without losing a model. So that buys the Guardsman players a little bit of time. They will also get the decap on the contested victory point. Venerable Dread, meanwhile, charging in. Trying to get some damage onto the Baneblade. Venerable's already really low in health. This is definitely going to be another dead Venerable Dreadnought. But let's see what value it can get with Stoicism this time. Last time it got a huge amount of value with Stoicism. Fist of Brachus with the None Shall Fall ability yet again. This time, Stoicism does not get a huge amount of value. But we are just going to have some Assault Terminators on the point. They're not being removed at the moment. And although Fist of Brachus is active, some of these squads are getting so low. Fist of Brachus not active anymore. I think Commissar also in retreat. He's lost so much hit points. And our Space Marine players do succeed in retaking the contested victory point through sheer tankiness alone. Demolisher Cannon shot goes in. But it's also going to be some infiltrated scouts getting this sneaky back cap, and in all likelihood, this is probably going to be game number 1 going in favor of our Space Marine players. Assault Marines jump in, Melt-A-Bomb does go in onto the Baneblade, as we do have a Las Cannon Predator chasing in with shots on the Leman Russ. Maybe soon to focus on the Baneblade, as it is finding itself getting, the Baneblade is closer, and certainly a target that's has so much more threat against it. Demolisher Cannon shot goes in. But that will be the end of the Baneblade, and it will also be the end of Game 1, which will go in favor of our Space Marine players. Ooh, quite a crazy game number 1. Let's now move on to game number 2. Game number 2 will be taking place on Katrin Purification Plant. We're going to have Chaos 23 this time on the Apothecary. Actually, I think it was on it before. But Ben 1993 and cursecrab, probably switching roles. Ben 1993 will be on the Force Commander this time. cursecrab will be on the Tech Marine. Meanwhile, their opponents, Lomors will be stepping in as the Lord Commissar this time. Inekura will be staying as the Inquisitor, but will make a change of clothing. And finally, it's going to be reacts on another Commissar Lord. So we have two Lord Commissars this time, no Lord General. So let's see what our Imperial Guard players can do to try to fight their way back into this series. Sentinel will be moving up, probably going to look for some of these guards, some of these scouts right here. Scouts right here, probably going to have to move back. Sentinel can even chase a bit after them, possibly threaten a model loss. Heal might come in from the Apothecary to prevent it, even though usually heal on scouts is considered kind of suboptimal. Generally better used on the Tactical Marines. Eventually just decides to retreat the scouts out of there. And will be the Tactical Marines. Tactical Marines, however, going to be focused in melee combat by the Lord General. So Tactical Marines decide to move around things the other way. They're going to be looking for either the Sentinel or the Guardsman, but the Sentinel is also upgrading to the ground pound. So very soon, I think the Tactical Marine's not achieving a whole lot, but here we do also have Ben 1993 coming in, trying to put more pressure on the Guardsman. As we do see these early fights, if they are managed correctly, it's generally, we're probably not going to see too many losses, certainly on the Space Marine side, and our Guardsman players certainly going to suffer losses, but very unlikely to lose a whole squad. All right, so it does look like with Reacts getting doubled here, he will be mostly forced off the field, but his Commissar's still in here, seeing if maybe he can find another model on to these Tactical Marines. But eventually, I think he needs to retreat out of there before he has to deal with the possibility of force melee killing him. Sentinel pretty low, so yeah, that will be Reacts. Now, unfortunately for them, Reacts was just pushed off the field. Okay, so Ben 1993 will take advantage of pushing Reacts off the field to also actually capture the natural victory point, because otherwise you wouldn't really get that much value out of doubling the player on this side of the map unless you turn it into a power push, but there's not a whole lot of power to destroy here, so instead he does get the victory point. That will be the Space Marines taking the double cap. Yet again, it seems to be a common theme of this faction war that they will have a double cap without having the contested victory point, instead having their natural as well as the Imperial Guard natural. But again, as we see our Imperial Guard players just moving in, will take the natural back pretty quickly, as holding your opponent's natural is pretty difficult and inherently pretty unsustainable. But of course does have certain applications at the right time. Space Marine players is going to push out. We do have Cursecrab right here with this very nice purple color scheme. Those purple capes from the Scouts. Purple Tactical Marines looking very, very nice. Force Commander will be forced off, however, just taking too much range damage. Scouts coming in for a big flank. Of course they're looking for a grenade. Will it hit? It's going to hit some Guardsmen. He was really looking for the heavy weapon team, so that means the heavy weapon team gets to stay here, and the heavy weapon team is, at the moment, the linchpin that allows the Imperial Guard players to hold on to this for the moment. But the heavy weapon team also keeps setting up and then unsetting up, I think trying to cover these flanking angles that our Space Marine players are looking for. Meanwhile, on this side of the map, we are going to see a generator bash, really just a node bash by Reacts, as we also see the Tactical Marines by themselves. Tactical Marines by themselves kind of in a little bit of trouble, as we do see Power Sword has been upgraded. But they will just move back into the firing arc of the Devastator Marine squad. Both the Sentinel, more so the Sentinel than the Commissar, needs to be really careful here. Does not want to really let the Sentinel get taken down here. No pressure currently being put on the Devastator Marines, and a little bit harder given that the Devastator Marines are in cover, so it's a little bit harder for that Sentinel to slowly bleed it down. We've also got the Apothecary here. Apothecary right now is in range to provide it with the passive heal aura, and of course the targeted heal can also be there. So very, very hard to dislodge this Devastator Marine squad at the moment. Could even say that might not even be worth React's trouble to try to dislodge it. Instead, he'll just focus on the Tactical Marines, and it's a pretty passive game between these two players at the moment. So let's take a look back over here. Contested victory point has been made neutral. We are going to see some vengeance rounds out of some of our Space Marine players. Ben 1993 has it. Cursecrab also does have it. The vengeance rounds, I think, very, very desirable in this matchup. Enables you to put a lot more pressure on the Sentinel, and can also help you put a lot more pressure on the Guardsmen, too. You suppress them, then if you activate Vengeance rounds, you also just put a lot of more damage pressure on them, and potentially forcing them into retreating a lot sooner than they would otherwise. Sentinel needs to be really careful here because we do see Apothecary as well as the Tactical Marines moving in. So it's a very slow, patient game on this side where neither team is really hard committing to an engagement. We're mostly just seeing some poking back and forth on both sides. Space Marines now have control of the contested victory point. And yeah, slow, patient game actually all around pretty much. We do actually see now an artillery spotter, which, if anything, surprised me that we didn't see too many artillery spotters last game because we also did not have that many Devastators last game. Our Space Marine players went for more of a Assault Marine focus, and despite how many melee counters are available to Imperial Guard units early on, the Assault Marine focus did work out pretty well for them. All right, Catachan Devils looking to get the decap here. They will use the smoke grenade so they can just try to tank all this damage from this Tarantula turret that has been put up. They do get the decap, just buying time for them. And given that they have the heavy weapon team here, they can at least hold the victory point at neutral. Assault Marines jump in this time, but they will get stomped. Yeah, and I think now, especially with only Ben 1993 having Assault Marines, I think that makes it a lot harder for the Assault Marines to find value than last game where they had 4. Because the 4 Assault Marines, it really enables them to just kind of out-tank, just tank longer against all the damage, outlast the melee counters. Whereas now, if you've got like multiple Sentinel Stomps available, Catachan Devil Shotgun Blast, that can really just make it hard for a single squad of Assault Marines to really get much done. Apothecary now is upgraded. I have seen these upgrades, got that customized Stormbolter so we can actually participate more in combat. Yeah, particularly against Imperial Guard, I think it's very, very hard for the Apothecary to really participate much in combat if he has anything other than the customized Stormbolter. Also has those Purification Vials, which we did see get some nice value last game. Oh, Sentinel playing a real dangerous game here. Does get around the firing arc of the Devastator, and that is enough to scare the Devastator Marine squad off. Because, of course, what would happen in the end, although the Sentinel still had to worry a little bit about the attacks, he would just be able to stomp the Devastator. Then there would be a lot of damage pressure from the Guardsmen as well as the Commissar. And it would have been a one engagement, even though it's kind of risky business. Sentinel flanks are... You need to be very calculated. You need to be very wary about what your opponent has, because if you find your Sentinel going too aggressive into the wrong alley, it could be in a huge amount of trouble and could die earlier than expected. Especially hard to pull that off in 2v2 and 3v3. 1v1, it's a little bit easier. Sentinel now under a little bit of pressure, tries to go for a volley against the Devastator Marines, but unfortunately kind of misses. Overshot the missiles. Still being some pressure being put on it. A lot of damage pressure also being put on it. The Sentinel missile still not really hitting head on, but the Devastator Marines eventually will get forced off, not really focusing on the Guardsmen who are actually able to take it down. We also do have a different weapon from our Inquisitor this time, the Inferno Pistol. Inferno Pistol does have... It's basically a melt-a-weapon. It does melt-a damage and works to the same effect that any regular melt-a-weapon would. Does also have that Judgment ability. Judgment is a very interesting ability where you use it to mark a target. And then Judgment goes back on cooldown. When Judgment is ready to be used again, you can use it on whatever target you've marked to do some pretty big burst damage. And generally against more experienced players, you won't actually see that ability go off too often, because if you have a target that's marked by Judgment, the player is going to temporarily take it out of play until the mark wears off so that the Inquisitor can't actually follow up with that big burst damage. Inquisitor here pretty low on damage. Turret has been shut down briefly by the artillery spotters, and I think we will see the turret finished off. Yeah, the combination of the assault cannon as well as the crack missile out of the Sentinel. Nice combination to take out that turret. Meanwhile, we are going to see a Razorback chasing around some Guardsman squad, moving up here. Wonder if we've got any units inside, possibly looking for a Generator Bash. And Sentinel also needs to be very, very careful, particularly this Sentinel here with only about 100 hit points. This Sentinel's gone. Yeah, I think he just didn't really see the Razorback coming. This Sentinel also needs to be a little bit careful. Now, the Sentinel does at least put a decent amount of threat against the Razorback, but we still have to just be very, very wary about positioning when using a Sentinel, especially in Tier 2, when we are going to see range damage overall increase, upgrades coming out that will put a lot more pressure on the Sentinel. The role of the Sentinel really, really changes from Tier 1 to Tier 2 if you upgrade to the missile launcher, and also just given the way changes work globally in terms of Tier 2 upgrades and Tier 2 units. In Tier 1, the Sentinel is basically a tank. And no, I don't mean that like a tank in terms of, you know, it has a cannon, it drives on treads. I mean a tank in terms of gaming purposes, where its primary purpose is to tank damage. That's the primary purpose of the Sentinel. And the damage it does is it does low, sustained damage. In Tier 2, the Sentinel is very, very different. The Sentinel can no longer tank in Tier 2. It also, since the multi-laser just doesn't really cut it in Tier 2 for the most part, you're upgrading to the missile launcher. The missile launcher is mostly a hit-and-run weapon. So it's a hit-and-run weapon, particularly with the frag missiles. You're looking to do area of effect burst damage, or hit-and-run anti-vehicle damage with the crack missile. So very, very different role that the Sentinel has in Tier 2 compared to Tier 1. Commissar Lord here, kind of by himself. He's got the Aura of Discipline. Sorry, no, he's got Stubbornness. Often mix those two up as they are. It's weird, because in one way you might not say, oh god, what a big plasma cannon shot. You wouldn't exactly say that Stubbornness and Aura of Discipline are similar, even though they kind of have similarities, but they serve different purposes. Stubbornness really improves the tankiness of the Commissar as he regenerates health with more units around him, whereas Aura of Discipline is more of a support war gear. All right, then. Victory point's actually still pretty even. Oh, look at this upgrade that's coming in, though. Not going to bother with Stubbornness for much longer. Instead, going for Bionic Eye. Just kidding. I was mixing that up with the Emperor's Wrath, which actually... Bionic Eye does not compete with Stubbornness, so we will actually have all of those upgrades. And that does also indicate that Lomors could be looking for an Ogryn purchase sometime. But actually, it might be a while before he can afford Ogryns. He's so low in resources. At this time, I guess... Inspired Determination would be best used on Catachan Devils, and we'll see if we can make some decent use of that. Razorback, meanwhile, now having to back off. We do have the autocannon shooting. We also need some repairs on this Sentinel. Chimera moving in. This Chimera is loaded. We are going to see some units get out to try to focus down this Devastator Marine squad with the Plasma Cannon. Plasma Devastators have been doing a lot of work in this game. Those Plasma Devastator shots, especially, I mean, if they hit an Imperial Guard, if they hit a Guardsman squad at all, the damage that they do is absolutely mouth-watering. If they hit two at the same time, it's absolutely ludicrous. So, some infiltrated scouts here will capture the natural victory point away from our Imperial Guard players. Definitely a weakness at the moment for our Imperial Guard players, often find themselves losing their natural victory point. I think scouts will try to finish out this victory point cap, but they might lose a model in the process. So there's a model, especially if they're forgotten, they might just get wiped entirely. All right, they are retreated in time. They do lose two models, though. And this time, we do see a Dreadnought. And this one is a regular Dreadnought, but it has the Assault Cannon. I think we might have seen one squad wipe there for the Imperial Guard. I think also... Assault Cannon Barrage, I think, does work as anti-garrison, but there's just so much damage against the Autocannon Heavy Weapon Team. Autocannon Heavy Weapon Team, I think, does go down here. It just barely doesn't. It's so lucky to get out of there alive. Dread is pushing in pretty far. We do have a Sentinel here. Should be loaded in with crack missiles. Does kind of misfire there. I think the Dreadnought moved out of its range as it was trying to get a shot in. Blessing of the Omnissiah here to provide that Dreadnought with repairs, as we do see this approach by Ben 1993 with this Razorback. Going to prove to be pretty impressive alongside these Stern Guard veterans. Stern Guard veterans, I kind of said how I felt that the plasma guns are a mandatory purchase for Guardsmen, for Imperial Guard in this matchup. I don't remember if we even saw Stern Guard veterans in the last game, but I feel like Stern Guard veterans are also so good in this matchup as well that it really surprises me if our Spaceman players don't get it. Since you really, really have that versatility of having the Hellfire rounds, which are going to be so good against the Guardsmen, you can use Kraken Bolts, which will actually be good against the Sentinel as well. Devastator Marine Squad. will finish off the Commissar. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what was going on right there. That Sentinel, sorry, that Commissar just trying to charge into melee there. Ooh, another Assault Cannon barrage goes in. Bunker is just completely destroyed. And we even see the leftover remains of that bunker. Plasma Cannon shot goes in. Does not knock over the heavy weapon team. This one does. Meanwhile, on this side of the map, a lot of tactical marine models going down. Oh my god, wow. What happened to Kaios 23? He literally just lost his entire army. Yeah, I mean, this Dreadnought is absolutely going to die. It's being chased after by a Lehman Russ. It's going to die slowly but surely unless there's support to help it out. I think... Let's see if the next battle cannon shot finishes it off, and indeed it does. So, man, I mean, there have definitely been ways in which our Space Marine players have been looking strong, but this ain't it. So that's super rough for Kaios 23. If anything, at this point, I almost wonder if, like, you cancel Tier 3 just to rebuild an army. But at this point, I don't know. He's probably just looking for us to put some Terminators out on the field. And then maybe he can buy back, like, scouts or something later if he needs scouts. If he goes for a more infantry-based army, he actually doesn't really need scouts. Catachan Devil's getting pretty low. They will need to retreat out of there. Level 1 Catachan Devil, 7 models, 1,275 hit points. Soon to be level 2, though. Autocannon Heavy Weapon Squad will be forced off. Might have accidentally said Assault Cannon for the Heavy Weapon team before. And where are these Guardsman squads going? Looking for some generators? Possibly. We do see a full generator farm being rebuilt at this time. Double cap for our Space Marine players again. So it's still technically our Space Marine players in control. Even though Kaios is really, really suffering. Ooh, Lomors stuck in Tier 2, so he's getting a Manticore. But we do have Inekura and Reacts in Tier 3, so we've got Castricans out for both of them. Castricans definitely for just the high damage to things like the, well, pretty much to any power armor unit, pretty much. We'll be taking a huge amount of damage from these Castricans. As well as the Guardsmen with the plasma guns as well. So our Guardsmen players, it is on them to make a move. We do have a Sentinel still alive for Inekura. I think that might have actually been a hit on that missile from that Sentinel. Crack missile hit. Alright, we are going to see Lehman Russ moving forward. Should be taking some shots at the Razorback. What is this? Some Terminators just dropped behind enemy lines here. This could be a little bit... This could actually kind of go both ways. There's certainly plenty... If they can pincer Reacts here, this could be good. But the Terminators also... Oh, no, Terminators! I think this is such a big misplay on the Terminators. I think these Terminators are gone. They were dropped behind enemy lines. Oh, my God. That was a big oof. Oh, no. I mean, they were already dropped behind enemy lines, which was a little bit risky. So much plasma damage to focus them down. And then they were teleported in aggressively with no Librarian to teleport them out. I mean, this is a rough one. It's mostly rough for Kaios, like, if we're honest here. It's starting to get rough for cursecrab. He might... they finish off that tax squad. Manticore Strike, meanwhile, also going to put a huge amount of threat on this tax squad as well. With all the range damage that's going in, they might lose another model. Honestly, it's even possible they could lose two. If they get out with all three, it's actually really lucky. Wow. All right, our Imperial Guard players should be able to move in to capture this victory point. I don't know if it's the Sentinel. All right, the Sentinel will get the decap. Assault Terminators coming in, but there's so much damage against them. There's like 4 or 5 Guardsman squads right here. I think it's 4 Guardsman squads and 2 Castricans. It's just a ridiculous amount of damage against the Terminators. The Force Commander also, he's done. He dies here. When you have that much range damage, this much range spam, it's so hard for melee units to really get that much value. So victory point, it's actually 1-0 in favor of our Guard players. The Assault Terminators just having so much trouble getting anything done. Devastator Marines will get out of there alive just barely. a lone Devastator squad trying to defend against this Leman Russ as well as all these guardsmen. The Leman Russ content to push forward, does kill the lead model of the Devastator, so they will have to reset up. This Leman Russ possibly going to push forward a little bit more, does get hit by the Whirlwind's Hunter-Killer missile, but the Whirlwind can't do anything else about this. Leman Russ it's targeting the Tactical Marines at the moment. Tactical Marines upgrading to a rocket launcher or a missile launcher, but they will not be able to use it yet because they are in retreat. This Leman Russ still chasing down. That Whirlwind does manage to get a rear armor shot to finish it off. And it's now a triple cap for our Imperial Guard players, as we do see also 2 dead commanders on the ground. We are going to see both Kaios as well as Ben 1993 not having their commanders. Kaios still doesn't have enough red for Blessing of the Omnissiah. He's not too far off, but I think that's kind of something that they need. Ideally, I think that they would want that, especially Ben 1993 does not have the requisition to just buy back his Force Commander. Although this isn't such a bad position to revive if Kaios can get enough of an army so that they can push back out. Guardsman player is going to be content to sit on this double cap. Oh my god, the Tactical Marines, they're moving in just to try to get a decap. They might get wiped here, indeed they will. So it's going to be Kaios losing yet another unit. Okay, we do have Blessing of... Sorry, not Blessing of the... I might have said Blessing of the Omnissiah when I meant to say Laraman's Blessing. Easy to mix up my blessings. Getting some mixed blessings here. But Laraman's Blessing, used by Kaios to revive both the Force Commander as well as the Apothecary. Does look like our Space Marine players, part of what they're struggling with at the moment is just indecision of whether to even keep fighting. I mean, it's a triple cap against them. More Manticore Strikes going to come in, knocking over the Devastator Marines. In fact, Plasma Devastators. Oh, big Pregatus from the Inquisitor, although she will have to retreat, taking a little bit of range damage in the process. Hellfury Strike going out from the Inquisitor as well, just to scare off more of these Space Marine units. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but I mean, just scaring them off the field at this point is kind of worth it. Just buying more time for our Guardsmen to continue to tick the victory points in their favor, but they won't need it because they will be the concede out of our Space Marine players. And man, I actually like this still at the moment of this Dreadnought. That's kind of a nice one. All right, then. Now we move on to game number 3 as our series is tied up 1-1. Game number 3 in our best of 5 series will take place on Cathari Ruins. We are going to have some hero swaps again. Cursecrab will be on the Force Commander this time. Ben 1993 back on the Tech Marine. And finally, it's going to be Kaios 23 playing as the Apothecary, our heroes not displaying correctly. Their opponents, we're going to have Lomors continuing to stay in here with this Bald Commissar. I didn't even know this one existed, Bald Commissar. Next up, going to be the Tenso coming in here into this series, playing as Lord General this time. And finally, it's going to be Inekura still here, playing as that Inquisitor. Now, before I move on any further, I'm going to reinforce some things that I said a couple months ago about acceptable comments. Basically, any kind of toxic, rude, or harassing comments are not accepted. Any kinds of things saying that, oh, X player is trash, X player sucks, completely unacceptable, and especially that I've given this warning right now, reinforcing the written warning that I had given before. Any such comments along those lines will honestly just be deleted. However, I will say this: that doesn't mean that we can't point out people's mistakes or point out when someone did not do something correctly or did not play well. As long as we keep it constructive, keep it focused on the player's actions, and say it in a way that is not clearly rude or toxic. And with all that out of the way, I will be the one to say that if Kaios 23 is still here in this faction war, it's definitely on him to really step up his play compared to that last game. Definitely needs better unit preservation. because if the Space Marines do want to close out this series, that's definitely what they're going to need. Kaios 23 is really the one who does need to step up his play. Moving on. Apothecary is pretty low on hit points. Oh no! Just as I cursing him, just as I say he needs to step up his play, walks right into a Hammer of the Witches by Inekura's Inquisitor, and that will be the Apothecary going down as the Inquisitor continues to chase down these Tactical Marines. At this point, I think the Tactical Marines need to just retreat. Looks like Ben 1993 trying to provide some communication to kind of help him out here. Just that BK, I'm pretty sure, just standing for back and trying to coordinate attacking together. As now we do see some Guardsmen putting in some damage on this node. And I think with this kind of push, with the success they had in that engagement, I think they're backing out. I think they could actually move in and get a decap on this power node. So it's a nice early engagement for our Guardsmen players. This Bald Commissar moving out of here from Lomors. I'm actually just really enjoying. This is actually the first time in my life that I've ever actually seen this particular Commissar model. So, multi-laser turret has been set up. Deployable cover is also set up to try to hold this position, prevent the Space Marines from really getting any significant power income on this. So we do see our Space Marine players kind of wrapping around. We're also seeing, this is, I think, Inekura here by himself, but he's about to get doubled by both Ben and Kaios. So he's trying to hold it as best as he can. And I like that movement out of Ben and Kaios because it actually enables Ben to get that revive on the Apothecary pretty much uncontested. And it does look like in the end this isn't really quite the sustainable position that Inekura was hoping he could make it out to be. And I still also really disappointed that he did not go for a decap on this power node, and even a full cap. I think he had the time to do it. So, although that was definitely some nice plays by our Space Marine players, it's still a triple cap at the moment for our Guard players. Just kidding. It's a double cap. It's a 2-0, but it will be a triple cap very soon. Just kidding. I'm wrong again. Guardsmen are going to move out of here because they were being scared off by the Tactical Marines, taking a lot of losses right here, and they will decide to just help out with destroying this power node. Meanwhile, Space Marine players moving into the middle will be knocked away from attempting to capture this victory point because of that old reliable out of the Catachan Devils. Now, very interestingly, we are going to see double Sniper Scouts. Now, double Sniper Scouts, I wouldn't normally think of that as something that would really be particularly great against the Imperial Guard, aside from dealing with Sentinels. And yet, we actually have no Sentinels out of our Guard players. Very interestingly. So that also does make me kind of feel like I don't know if I like the double Sniper Scout purchase out of Ben 1993. I guess the best it can do is probably just put some burst damage pressure on the heroes on the side of the Imperial Guard, and we do already have the Inquisitor, who is dead somewhere. Artillery gonna go in, knocks over friendly Guardsmen, and no enemy Space Marines. All right, we are going to see a retreat from Inekura. Man, what a build he has. Double artillery spotters. He's also got some Catachan Devils. Ooh, one squad of Guardsmen just barely getting out of there alive for Inekura, down to exactly one model left. I would like to see Inekura try to bait those Assault Marines into that IED that he has put, although I'm actually not sure if it's his IED. Oh, yeah, that does actually tell me it is his IED. All right, Tactical Marines looking to get a victory point back, but man, are our Space Marine players behind in victory points. More old reliable from Catachan Devils, knocking over some Space Marines, but that will be the Catachan Devils needing to get out of here. Tactical Marines did find a little bit of force melee and enable them to take down an additional model off of this Catachan Devil squad. All right, so for the moment, does look like Space Marines, they will actually get a double cap. No, they're going to make me into a liar again. Tactical Marines moving off. All right, they will stay. They will get the triple cap, but it won't last very long. In fact, I'm wrong again, because we are going to see some Imperial Guard players get the decap on the bottom victory point. Just no triple caps allowed today. But finally, our Space Marine players will start having capture points and advantage in their favor. Grenade goes in. Oh, man, nearly wipes the artillery spotters, but they are lucky to get out of there alive. Still a double cap for our Space Marines as they look to even things back out. Scouts out here yet again. One of them missing a model. Now, I don't see the scouts as being particularly high, the sniper scouts being particularly high value against the guardsman squads. All right, I mean, they do some decent damage, but especially with the guardsmen approaching aggressively like this, they should be able to outtrade the sniper scouts, although it looks like both of them are content to just stay behind the line of sight blockers. Not this time. Scouts taking shots. They lose another model there. Unfortunately for the scouts. I mean, I guess they actually were targeting the Lord General at max range, but they were so close to the guardsmen. Yeah, I mean, this one scout squad, so low in hit points, does lose another model. There's actually a lot of scout model bleed from Ben at the moment. And it's going to be another successful set of engagements for our Imperial Guard players. Kaios is still in here. He actually, you know, I had said before that I feel like if you want your apothecary to really be able to significantly participate, I feel like you need the customized Stormbolter. He's gone for the Sanguine Chainsword, trying to make him tanky in melee fights. But I'm just concerned that in spite of the healing that he gets from attacking, that against Imperial Guard, he will just be focused down so much and have trouble getting a lot done. So, this time, it legitimately is a triple cap. This is a lot of victory points going in favor of our Imperial Guard players at this time. Triple caps just taking down victory points so fast in your favor, which is why we're going to see these Tactical Marines here looking for this decap. They will get the decap, but probably a lot of damage pressure going to be put on them very soon. No Old Reliable yet used on them, though, to knock them off the victory point. Instead, Old Reliable used on the Sniper Scouts, I think actually missed them entirely. Catachan Devils, I think we're looking for melee against the Tactical Marines. And to my personal surprise, I was surprised to see the Tactical Marines be allowed to finish that cap. I feel like between all those Catachan Devils, they should have been knocked off at some point. Keep the victory point pressure in favor of the Imperial Guards. At this time, it's now a double cap back in the Space Marines' favor. As Space Marines do win that engagement. And top victory point is also in their favor, as we do see some Tactical Marines taking out this power node. IED used on those scouts. They're down to a single model. Kyle's 23 trying to point out those bombs. All right, smoke grenade is used, or smoke shell. Assault Marines will jump in, though, directly onto the artillery spotters, but at some point they will be focused down. We've got the Inferno Pistol out of the Inquisitor yet again. She's also got the Liber Heresius, just giving her more energy and energy regeneration, trying to use her spells more often. Assault Marines, my God, where are they going? That will be Assault Marines gone from Kaios. Oh, my God, I feel like they jumped in with so few hit points. Kaios, once again, will be losing his apothecary as well. This is so rough. It's already a victory point lead in favor of our Imperial Guard players, and I feel like some rough losses for our Space Marine players yet again. Tactical Marines right here will just absolutely lose to all of these Guardsmen, especially if they're already at half strength. Chimera moving in. Oh, and that will also be a vehicle going down for our Space Marine players. I think it might have been Kaios as well. Inquisitor slowly bashing this power node with that melt-a-gun, with the Inferno Pistol, technically. Haven't really seen Judgment get a whole lot of value, but part of the value of Judgment is just sometimes the deterrent of it. Like, I don't think I've seen an actual Judgment activation. Guardsman Squad's getting pretty low here, though, dealing with this Dreadnought. Dreadnought, still just a melee Dreadnought. No indication that he is going to be looking for either of the ranged upgrades. Shotgun Blast comes out from the Catachan Devils, knocking away the Shotgun Scouts. This Dreadnought really needs to be worried. It's still in the firing arc. I think the Force Commander not even tiring. Okay, no. The crew members of the Heavy Weapon Squad were so far away from the gun that I actually thought they were a separate Guardsman Squad for a second. So they do get tied up. Still a lead for Imperial Guard players. Ooh, I think that might have actually been a use of the Inferno Pistol there, of the Judgment ability. And I think I just kind of missed it. Big blobs right here. The Space Marines blobbing up like this, I think, is going to favor the Guardsmen. because we have more disruption, more ways of shutting down the range damage out of our Imperial Guard players between the artillery spotters that they have, double artillery spotters. And as tanky as those tactical marine models are, it's really the guardsmen who can afford to take more losses. So here we do see a dreadnought with an assault cannon out of Chaos. But we again have our Imperial Guard players with more, to keep it safe, more just victory point pressure. So Commissar right there does back away from the tactical marines. We do have Inspired Determination. It's going to be used on the Catachan Devils. This is so scary for them. I think it just needs to be a retreat here. Otherwise, the Catachan Devils will absolutely run rampant over the tactical marines. All right, Catachan Devils, they don't actually get to do too much in melee with Inspired Determination. They do get a model kill there, but I mean, just the fact that it had to be respected there, and that's part of why we saw those retreats out of cursecrab, knowing that he can't stick around in melee against some Catachan Devils that have been supported by Inspired Determination. So, yet another triple cap for our Imperial Guard players. All right, Space Marine players are actually already really running out of time here. Librarian from Cursecrab will take back the top victory point, and it should get it. But there are some guardsmen here who might be able to go down and say something about it. They might be able to, he will get the decap, but can they stop him from getting the full cap? Catachan Devils, meanwhile, infiltrated here because they are just capturing that stationary. Bigger fights potentially going on right here. Angels of Death is used by Kaios, but I think he's also just so overwhelmed, and I think that also was a use of Judgment against this Dreadnought. I think this Dreadnought is gone. I think the Inquisitor will chase after it, as long as she can get... She needs like 2 more hits, I think. Oh, she's missing, unfortunately, for her. Can she get a hit? No, she just keeps missing. There she gets a hit. 1 more will finish it. More missing. Fire on the move accuracy. Rough life. She stops trying to get that accuracy from standing still. And she does finish off the Dreadnought by herself. 1 squad of guardsmen might go down. Very, very small victories for our Space Marine players who just really having a rough go of it. It's a 2-to-1 cap, but it won't last much longer. What is this call-in going to be? I think whatever call-in this is going to be, I think it's going to be a little ill-advised. It's going to be some tactical Marines who just need to instantly retreat. Yeah, that was rather unfortunate. Force barrier. Force barrier. I don't think achieving a whole lot right here. This is a rough one. I think it's really looking like it's just going to be game number 3 going in favor of our Imperial Guard players. Our Space Marine players have very, very little time. Their armies are big enough, but they need to make a move very, very fast. And I don't know if there are enough of their units in position to make it happen. Catachan Devils right here. Oh man, this is actually going to be a fun surprise to see. I'm waiting for it. Okay, IED goes off. I feel like it might have been a little premature. I feel like I could have waited for the tax to get on a little bit more. Tax trying to get the decap. Oh, and that's also another dead Dreadnought. And that's taking advantage of the infiltration that comes out of the Catachan Devils when you get by upgrading them, and then they just infiltrate if you keep them still for long enough. So that was a very nice play of how Catachan Devils can be used to guard that victory point like that from Lomors. All right, then. It is 2-to-1 in favor of our Space Marine players. Sorry, man. I just keep messing up. It's 2-to-1 in favor of our Imperial Guard players. Let's see if they can close it out or if our Space Marine players have anything to say about it in game number 4. All right, for our next game in the series, we are going to go to Quest's Redemption. Cursecrab will be on that Force Commander. Ben 1993 on the Tech Marine again. And finally, for the Space Marines, going to be Kaios 23 on the Apothecary. Their opponents going to be Lomors playing as the Lord Commissar. Tenso will be playing as the Lord General. And finally, going to be Inekura yet again on this Inquisitor. So nice rainy map here. I do like the maps with rain. I like the effects. I like the visual effects of it. In fact, this is a fantastic looking map, considering I believe it is a community-made map. We've got all this water here, all this shiny water looking nice. Very, very nice here. Not too much happening yet. Victory points have been taken by both sides. Natural victory points. All right, Sentinel moving in, though, looking to destroy the cover of the Tech Marine so that he doesn't have that available. Does need to be very careful here. When you find yourself, when you advance the Sentinel that far, you really got to watch your health bar, making sure that you leave enough health to be able to get back out. So this Sentinel. So again, this time we actually see Sentinels. Ooh, Inekura. Oh my God, going with the double Sentinel play. What a bully. Double Sentinel. Double Sentinel is interesting. So as I said, the way the Sentinel works in Tier 1, Sentinel is it functions as a tank in the sense, not a cannon and treads tank, but a tank in the sense that it needs to absorb damage. It needs to be one of the primary units that is absorbing damage. And it does low sustained damage. Now, having two of those Sentinels helps you to overcome that low sustained damage because you're doubling the damage out of your Sentinels. So that makes the Sentinels a little bit more oppressive. Sentinels, very, very hard to kill in Tier 1 when you're up against a player who knows what they're doing. Meanwhile, backcapped by the Inquisitor right here. She will get knocked over by a shotgun blast, but she does get back up again. Eventually, she is going to have to get out of here. Hopefully, Inekura realizes that the Inquisitor's still here. Force melee from the Tactical Marines. Not even attempted. Probably would not have resulted in a kill even if he had gone for the force melee, though. But I still would have expected to see the attempt. Double guardsman right here, double sentinel shooting at the Tactical Marines. One of those sentinels tanking the damage does move back. The second sentinel didn't really need to move back like that. Like, the second sentinel could have stayed forward since only one of them was really suffering the damage there and needed to pull out. And part of the idea here is that with the two sentinels, you can kind of cycle them in and out. You put the sentinel in, it tanks damage. Once it takes damage, you need to move it back, give it some repairs, let the other Sentinel move forward and start tanking damage. And you're doing all this while bleeding the health and eventually, hopefully, the models of the units on the other side. All right, we're going to have some dueling heavy weapons teams right here. The heavy weapon team out of the Tenso versus the Devastator of Ben 1993. I don't know if they're really in range to actually suppress each other. I also don't know if they're targeting each other. All right, this time we do see some Sniper Scouts. I think I like the Sniper Scouts a little bit better here. Might do decently against dealing with the heavy weapon team. Slowly bleed that down until it needs to get out of here. But there are just so many targets for these snipers to deal with. And it looks like here the focus really is on the heavy weapon team. Shotgun Scouts going in for melee. Using infiltration to get all the way into melee. And now they might lose a model on retreat. There's one, there's two. Ooh, but a lot of pressure now being put on that Sentinel with that aggressive push between the Tactical Marines as well as the Tech Marine. Meanwhile, aggressive Sentinel push, and this is something he needs to be very, very careful with, needs to kind of watch where units are on the rest of the field, because, like, if you're pushing this far ahead with your Sentinels, if this does get, like, flanked or pincered, could put you in a really, really rough spot where you could be losing one or even both of your Sentinels a little prematurely. Okay, we'll take advantage of that time to destroy one generator. Okay, here's the answer. Apothecary will be slowed down by the Hammer of the Witches. Apothecary is also being upgraded to that customized Stormbolter. Heavy weapon team also going to kind of cover this arc, but it doesn't quite have the Tactical Marines in there. Actually just barely clips one model in its firing arc, and that is enough to trigger the suppression on that squad. Guardsmen will just be retreating out of there. They have to retreat through quite a bit, but it does look like Sentinels know that just with the layout of this map, there's a lot in terms of escape routes that does keep them out of here. So they will go up the stairs onto this platform, and that should keep them pretty safe. This Sentinel also being pretty brazen. Moves in. Assault Marine's going to jump in. They knock down a low-health Guardsman squad. That Guardsman squad needs to get out of there. Otherwise, it risks dying entirely. Sentinel also really low. Going to need some repairs pretty soon. Tactical Marines keep pushing forward, though. I think this Sentinel needs to keep pushing back. Needs to be very wary of the possibility that it could find itself too close to Assault Marines. You really want to keep enemy Tactical Marines at arm's length when you are playing with your Sentinel. because if they're allowed to get too close when you don't have much health, and even if you try to back up the Sentinel, they might not be able to get out of the range of the Tactical Marines in time before they are killed. So, double cap for our Imperial Guard players. Still the lead for them. Lomors doing a pretty... Sorry, this is Tenso. Tenso doing a pretty good job of holding this this center area, this contested power node, with this heavy weapon team. It might have been Lomors before who was holding it with his heavy weapon team. His heavy weapon team finding himself on the receiving end of the Assault Marine Chainsword, but the Assault Marine's pretty low. Heavy weapon team will get out of there from Lomors, but the Assault Marines, my god, they're so low, they die in midair. Oh no. They were just way overextended. This is cursecrab, I believe. Oh, and he's got the double Assault Marines as well. His second Assault Marines coming out on the field. He might lose. No, he's not going to lose the Force Commander on retreat. Second squad of Assault Marines are here. So, obviously, in the first game, we did see our Space Marine players get a lot of value off of their very heavy Assault Marine focus. So, cursecrab looks like he was trying that again, but he lost one of them already. There's no way, given how expensive Assault Marines are, there's no way he can try to pull off getting a second squad of Assault Marines too soon. Oh, but he's going to get some value out of his existing Assault Marines, finishing off the Catachan Devils from Lomors. All right, heavy weapon team will be setting back up here for the Tenso, but so will these double scouts. This Sentinel is way too far forward. And again, it's like it's not going to get out of the range, out of the Tactical Marines who already have a plasma gun. Yeah, that was... Unfortunately, that Sentinel was just not in the position that it needed to be in. And that will be a very clearly lost engagement for the Tenso. Need to really back up away from those Tactical Marines as well as those scouts. Another heavy weapon team trying to set up for Inekura, but it will just be overwhelmed here. Kind of staggered approaches by the units from our guards and players. And with those engagement wins, we will now see a double cap in favor of the Imperial Guard players. And of course I messed that up again when I meant to say the double cap in favor of the Space Marine players. Grenades from that Lord General slowly damaging down that power node. Does finish it off. We're going to see heavy weapon team try to set up. Oh, and the Devastator Marines have been upgraded to a las cannon. Why though? But why though? I mean, there's no vehicle on the side. The only real vehicle are the Sentinels, and both of these Sentinels have now been upgraded to missile launcher Sentinels. So again, the role of the Sentinel changes quite a bit. These Sentinels now, they can no longer tank. They just can't tank against things like Tech Marine with a plasma gun, especially if we also have Tax with plasma guns as well. And, of course, the nature of the way their weapon works, it's a lot more burst damage now. So it's very much more just a hit-and-run backline unit. And if it's microed well, I think having two of these could actually do a lot of damage. Like, I think if they can both get a volley onto, like, some Tactical Marines or something, that could drop the Tactical Marines down to probably almost half of their health. But I think some scouts did take some shots at the Sentinel, and one Sentinel's already pretty low. Las Cannon also does put some threat on the Sentinel, but really nothing else. The Las Cannon purchase, honestly, a bit of a mystery to me out of Ben 1993. I mean, it mostly looks preemptive, because I wouldn't really see it as something like you need to get a Las Cannon against a Sentinel. And I feel like he's just gave up so much by giving up the heavy bolter this early. Especially as the sole Devastator from his team. So our Space Marine players looking to even out the victory points, but will they be able to do it? We are going to see a victory point cap on the contested victory point by Inekura, who has gone for the Inferno Pistol yet again. Manticore is now out for the Tenso. I think it was spotted by the Tactical Marines. Where is that going? It's going to go onto the Devastator Marines out of Ben 1993. So Inquisitor right here. Now, luckily, even when you have this this Inferno Pistol, I believe she keeps her starting sword. So I believe her melee damage, even with the Inferno Pistol, her melee damage is just as good as the way she starts out of the gate. So she can still do some decent range damage, melee damage. And there we see just the way that Sentinels really just can't tank anymore. Just they take damage so quickly. This Sentinel just trying to path around friendly units. Ooh, this is a Manticore really far forward. Of course, it wants to be in range to strike either, ideally, the scouts or the... Well, actually, the las cannon is not even that much of a choice target because the las cannon doesn't even have that much to threaten, mostly the sentinel. So Sentinel's still being kept alive by Inekura, and he's moving them around the map here. This one Sentinel, really low, though, will be targeted. It can't survive another shot from the scouts, so it needs to get out of here now before the scouts take another shot at it. Okay, this is I believe, some inspired determination out of Lomors. He used it on the Catachan Devils. They are ripping apart the Force Commander. They're ripping apart some models. I think Assault Marines needed to jump away from the Catachan Devils. The Catachan Devils are just absolutely scary when the Commissar has used Inspired Determination on them. Inspired Determination increases the squad's speed and damage output. Also renders them immune to suppression. Ooh, Apothecary going to go down for Kaios. That is 2 commanders down for our Space Marine players. Kaios not too far away at all, though, from being able to use Laraman's Blessing, and I think at this point, yeah, he's really going to want to use Laraman's Blessing once he has it, although our Space Marine players... cursecrab actually a little bit low. Yeah, I don't think he would really want to use his Requisition to buy back his Force Commander. We really just need to see Kaios get that last +2 red. Use Laraman's Blessing, not Blessing of the Omnissiah, on the... Just so... Oh, is this going to be a Generator Bash? This is a Manticore Generator Bash. That's funny. All right, Laraman's Blessing should be there. Need to see it from Kaios really anytime now. As we do see, it looks like our Guardsman player is even trying to like push in a little bit more forward. Try to put really keep our Space Marine players out and choke them out of victory points even more. But we now have a Predator out of Ben 1993, so that's a little bit more threat. Kaios, why has Kaios not used Laraman's Blessing? He really does need to use it. IED is called out by Inekura. Oh, IED, oh yeah, to use it. He wants, basically reminding him to use it, and that's, oh my god, if the attacks get out of there, that's super lucky. And did they? Yes, they did, in the end. Manticore Strike going to go in. I think it went in somewhere else, actually, and that might have just been a Commissar Flare. Assault Marines trying to finish off this Sentinel. Okay, now Manticore Strike's going in. There it is. It is on the Las Cannon Devastator. We'll just scare that into retreating off the field. Since, Manticores can be particularly threatening against setup teams, especially Devastators and Havoc, since they generally have lower health among the setup teams. The idea there is that they're supposed to be a little bit... They're supposed to make up with that by having heavy infantry armor, but it's kind of a double-edged sword in some cases. And against something like a Manticore, it doesn't really protect them, and something like a heavy weapon team or a Luda would actually have better survivability. All right, it is a double cap for our Space Marine players at this time. We've got double Predators out, one for Kaios, one for Ben 1993. We've already seen the one from Ben 1993. We also see our Space Marine players sticking with the autocannon and not upgrading to the las cannon. Reason being that they don't really have any major vehicle threats to deal with, so they want to keep the autocannon for its effectiveness against infantry. Some nice burst area of effect damage could do very, very well against the Guardsmen. Las Cannon Heavy Weapon Team needs to get out of there, being approached by some Vanguard veterans, as well as a Terminator Force Commander with Lightning Claws. This is actually going to be a little bit rough. Certainly. Oh, but there's Inspired Determination. Yet again, Inspired Determination on the Catachan Devils. Force meleeing the Vanguard veterans, certainly doing a lot of damage to them. Vanguard veterans are getting pretty low. So are the Catachan Devils, but the Vanguard veterans are even lower. Vanguard veterans, oh my god. They're down to 2 models, now down to just 1. They will get out of there alive, but that was just so much bleed inflicted upon them. Catachan Devil's still here. This push actually although Lomors has certainly taken a lot of losses, this is not working out for cursecrab there. Gets the Force Commander out of there, the Terminator Force Commander out of there without losing it. Meanwhile, it does look like we're having some big fights going on over here that I am missing. One Sentinel did go down, as it does look like tanks trying to oppress the Sentinels, but one Sentinel does manage to catch a low-health Predator and finish it off with that missile launcher. Inekura will lose the Inquisitor here, though. Sentinel also going far back, looking to try to find an exit path. I think the Predator probably looking for it somewhere. And at the moment, Inekura is really just trying to keep this Sentinel out of vision. So Inekura now actually really lost a lot of units, so he's suffered a lot of losses there. Of course, much of his army was Sentinels, and he actually saved up for a Baneblade. Hopefully this gets a little bit more value than the last Baneblade that we saw in this series. The Sentinel. This Sentinel just sneaky. I think eventually this Sentinel probably will die. But this Sentinel, honestly, this Sentinel lasted such a long time. It definitely got a lot of value. So I think the Sentinel, at this point, it's fine for it to die. And if he keeps on playing Ring... Oh my god, he's keeping it alive. This is ridiculous. The Great Escape, featuring Inekura. Tactical Marines taken down by Kaios, while Assault Marines look for a Melt-A-Bomb on the Manticore, but a single Melt-A-Bomb by itself will not be enough. Alright, finally, here it is. Goodbye, Sentinel. You definitely did the Emperor proud there. Absolutely. Even Lomors knows, yeah, that was absolutely heroic. Land Raider Redeemer is out here for Ben 1993. You know, all jokes about the Baneblade aside, the Baneblade in a straight-up fight does kind of win against the Land Raider Redeemer. More anti-vehicle damage coming at longer range, tankier as well. It really just depends on what's supporting it. Our Guardsmen players with the advantage still, 286 to 177 victory points, a 2-to-1 lead in their favor in terms of the caps. All right, looks like our Space Marine player is going to make the push. Las Cannon is now on Ben's Predator, but it's not in the right spot. Meanwhile, the Manticore Strike doing so much damage onto the Land Raider. Land Raider's already at half health. It's being chased down by a Leman Russ. Baneblade can't really chase it too much. Baneblade is very, very slow. A Land Raider Redeemer gets out of there, but, I mean, this also means that it's just off the field. However, big push here. Big push here by Ben 1993 into the contested victory point. And he will also... Oh, yeah. Got to be real careful there. Getting those Guardsmen out of the bunker just in time. When you have a unit inside the garrison, or a bunker, if it is destroyed, if the building itself is destroyed, any units inside will die, even if they're at full health, no matter what unit is. A long time ago, I had a very embarrassing moment where I tried to capture a bunker with some knobs, and then I literally lost a full health knob squad when the bunker was detonated by the booby trap. Anyway, Land Raider Redeemer at such low health, being repaired, but it's not quite finished off by the Leman Russ. Baneblade still alive. This one actually doing Vance Stubbs proud. Another Manticore Strike going in. It's so close to the base, trying to finish off the Land Raider Redeemer. I think it's going to get it. Oh, no, the missiles don't target it. Oh, God, that was such a close call. So yet again, our Imperial Guard players have a double cap. They're actually controlling the both of the natural victory points, contested victory point. Looks like they want to get that one back too. Leman Russ. This one just has a regular battle cannon to just do area of effect damage to the assault squad. The assault squad just standing around there, just eating those shells and those bolter shots. Another push by Ben, but man, it's now a triple cap in favor of our Imperial Guard players on the verge of winning this series. Vanguard veterans looking for a jump. We now have an Assault Terminators. We've got a lot of melee Terminators. Assault Terminator squad with Lightning Claws, Force Commander Terminator with Lightning Claws, short range Gate of Infinity to just get that Assault Terminator, that Terminator Force Commander in there even faster. Ooh, we have Bionic Eye used, or rather, Inspired Determination used. I think this will be the end of this Guardsman squad for Lomors. Kadshan Devils also honestly in a lot of trouble. Oh yeah, they got hit by a special attack there. They're probably dead. So big losses by Lomors in this late game, but it's still a triple cap for our guardsmen players. Can they convert these kills into map control? I don't know. It's going to be pretty rough here, considering that the Baneblade is just parked next to the natural victory point for the Space Marines. And, I mean, the only other choice is the natural victory point for the Imperial Guard. We do see a Plasma Cannon Devastator squad trying to get the decap here. No way they can do that. We need something here just on this point. There's not even much that's in range. They're not even moving units fast enough. Oh no, this might just be it. This might be the end of the series. It's coming real close here. Yeah, there's no one from the Space Marines who can get either one of the other victory points. And that will be it. So congratulations to our Imperial Guard players for closing out that series 3-1. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a good night.